Let's welcome Agape Child and Family Services to the front of the room.
Lock. Thank you, Dakota. So Dakota, no theme music? So good morning. It is our pleasure to be able to join you this morning, seeing familiar faces, and being able to talk about our competitive edge model. I stand here before you as a member of a 50-plus strong collaboration that is ready, eager, and willing to move forward should we be selected for this award. Also with me is two of my colleagues, Pastor Ricky Floyd and Renee Gilmore. Our collaborative is designed to think from a strategic standpoint about how do you move the needle of poverty. And when I talk about our collaborative is one, which we're calling competitive edge, that we're already doing. We're not at the level that we believe we need to be in order to make positive changes. And this is why we're excited about an opportunity to be able to be considered for this award. I know online many of our partners are listening, and we actually have three that are in the Holy Land. One, the CEO, David Jordan, as well as two of our board members, and so they are connected as well. We believe in what we do. We believe in it because we're hearing the voice of the families that we serve. We're out in the communities. We work in the communities. We're in 17 schools, 6 apartment complexes. We're in churches, and we hear, we see. We have been the people that we're serving. And so we know that employment is a game changer. And employment of a wage, a higher wage, is a strong game changer. And so that is our competitive edge. At this point, I'm going to let Ricky talk.
Just like she said, we are not only helping people. Most of us have come from the situations that we are helping people come through. So we understand the pain, we understand the position that they're in, but we also have discovered a way of escape. I want to share with you the vision is that the backbone organization, Agape, like she told you, has been around 50 plus years, family services. We are in partnership with multiple groups in the community. Almost every type of group that we're touching has a hand-on. So it's more than just a terminology wraparound services. We're really impacting the lives of people. And Competitive Edge has an innovative collaborative that impacts the immediate general income of people. And it has an opportunity for families, neighborhoods, and the community as a whole to experience some immediate change because of economic empowerment. We're covering, our position of value is we're convening Memphis community resources for the common goal that will cause innovation, that will cause generational transformation. So we're touching the life of people that not just this generation, but children's children will be impacted by the collaboratives that we've put together. All right. Okay, all right. So another thing we'll talk about is the problem that we solve in the Raleigh and the Fraser community. our existing social capital. Like she said earlier, we're not talking about developing relationships. We're not talking about what we're going to do. We have already formed partnerships, covenant relationships that are impacting the lives of people in the Fraser-Raleigh community already. The poverty rate, unfortunately, in this area is some of the highest in the United States of America. I moved to the Raleigh-Fraser area back in 1983. So 4 generations of my family has been involved in the Raleigh-Fraser community. We've gone to school, we've pastored, we've started businesses, we've served, and so we have a real relationship and a heart of what's going on in the community. We know that the connection between 2-generational workforce and education skills is so desperately needed in this community. We almost see what we're doing as a type of Harriet Tubman, where we're able to snatch people out of poverty and take them to the freedom of economic empowerment and wealth. You know, in this community, unfortunately, we see 3% of the people that get caught up in this poverty cycle will never, only 3% will ever get out of that cycle. And so we have already started some pendulums that we've seen that are getting people out of that, because we've started some collaborations from 2016 that we're already moving the pendulum on poverty. One other thing I want to say, some news just came out this week that Shelby County is the 94th worst county for the well-being of children in the state of Tennessee. That has to change, and this gives us an opportunity to change this. The solution that we have is a collective impact initiative that immediately causes economic empowerment to people who've been struggling with poverty. And so at the end of this dependent, we need parents who have been dependent on the government, sometimes generations after generations, to find a way of escape. And we believe that with this program we have, we'll get people certified, we'll get people credentials, which hasn't been a problem. We've got a lot of people certified in the past, but then they have not had anybody to co-sign for them and to connect them and to coach them and to cultivate them to change a culture that gives them a way of escape out of poverty.
Thank you, Pastor. To continue on what Pastor is saying, let me just call to your attention 2 numbers. The number that was mentioned, only 3% of people will ever escape poverty. What we are doing right now, we have the data to show it from a third-party evaluator, is the people that we work with, the families we work with, are escaping poverty at a percentage of 11%. Think about that, not 3%, but 11%. It's a small number of people, but what we're saying is in this pilot, this will give us the opportunity to take that 11% that we're producing right now in terms of skilling people up.
Hi, everybody. Governor.
In terms of skilling people up. Thank you, thank you. And that's good, but I want you to pay attention to these numbers. Not 3%, but 11%. That's what we're doing right now. We're doing it right now because we are collaborating, and here's what's happening. The system does have resources. We know it has resources. What's happening is that because they're a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, they're spread out, people can't access them readily. We work with people who are ready to say yes. They're not wanting to hear no, they are ready to hear yes. And we enable ourselves as a system, as a community, to say yes to people. Yes, we can make that happen. Yes, we can connect you with someone. I want you to think about your opportunities, how you've gotten into the positions that you were in. Most of the times, it's not because of our own greatness. It is because we have had people surrounding us, giving us or connecting us with the tools that we need. And the beauty of this particular pilot here is that, again, we have a system that shows it works. We can connect people. We have no wrong door. We've taken this maze of resources, this maze of procedures, put it all together, taken the best from what is already there, and then piled on.
And Renee, if I could just add, when we talk about the we for us are the residents in the communities. Because we ask them, we sit down to a table, we eat together and we say, what is it that you like about your community? What don't you like about your community? What would you change if you could? And empowering them, what do you want to be a part of the change in? Employment is number one. Transportation is number two. Safety concerns is number three. And so what Agape does, again, that we is an army of churches. Again, the 50 plus collaboratives. It's the collaborative partners such as Slingshot, Mathematica, the Atlanta Federal Reserve Bank, all of the different players that come together to help us design, deliver successfully, respond to, evaluate, and analyze, and then be able to communicate. What the Competitive Edge grant hopes to do, or the award hopes to do, is to be so successful that DHS, the state of Tennessee, can look at this award and replicate it. We're tracking everything. We want something that can be replicated, that will solve the issues for Tennesseans and for people in other communities. For us, we see this as a large impact. And I love the analogy that was given about the hammock and the trampoline. That says what we want to do. And again, this is not new for us. It's now going deeper, being more embedded in the communities. The piece of the competitive edge that we don't have currently is that connection on the front end with businesses on about what it is that they need to have, so that if we bring a person to them that is credentialed and that has a certification on the front end, there's all kinds of trainings out there, but on the front end, how do you listen to the business here? So that when you train Julie and she's got that certification, she already has a hot handoff. They've been waiting for her to finish. We have a hospital right now that says you get started today, we have 10 openings that we're willing to commit to.
High wage openings.
High wage openings. We have, I hope I'm not running over, we have businesses that are saying we're here and we're ready. We already have 2 individuals that are in current work-based learnings. One was in the prison pipeline. And when he came out, had no housing. So all of those services that our 2Gen efforts that are currently furnished and provided to us by DHS helped him. Now that young man is in our work-based learning. He's the first one, and he is at a wage now of $50,000 a year. That's what our competitive edge is about. It's bringing together all of those pieces so that at the end of the day, employers have had voice on what they need. The people have been trained based on that voice. And then there's this connection after that short-term certification and credentialing.
Okay, now I'm going to go back to another number. We had a third-party evaluator that comes in to see what we're doing. That third-party evaluator says that for every $1 that's invested in Agape's Competitive Edge program, we're returning $2. So the investment is there. I want to bring this up because the commissioner talked about this being a Shark Tank. And so I know on Shark Tank, because I watch it all the time, they want to know, tell me about the numbers. So we're here to talk to you about numbers, 2 to 1. $1 invested, $2 returned. There's a cue.
Oh, 2 minutes left? Oh, okay, all right. So in our presentation, which was several pages long, because we understand that what we're doing is important. We understand that it is how you move people to prosperity. We understand that it takes collaboration. It takes Department of Labor. It takes DHS. It takes businesses. It takes other agencies to be able to come together as a collective to get this done. And so we talk about what we do, how we do, who's evaluating it. You'll see here Slingshot, which is a part of the Robin Hood Foundation, has done assessments on Agape for the past 4 years. Just briefly, I will show you that these are the 4 different component areas of the assessment. And here, agencies are ranked and scored based on unclear, weak, at least neutral, and at least strong, and very strong. Agape, as well as a lot of our collaborative partners, go through this rigorous process. And at the end of our evaluation, they then show us where we are and what movement from the past evaluation. So you can see in this, Agape was at least strong in one area, and that had to do with cost benefit during COVID. You know, everything costs more during COVID. And so this, again, was at least very strong. But in all the other 3 areas, system level change, use of best practices, measurements of infrastructure, Agape ranks very strong. More so than our previous evaluation, and the other 2 equal to our previous evaluation. And then on the bottom one, as it regards measurements and infrastructure, very strong, moving up. So we live this.
Thanks for that, Julie. Thanks for that. Just want to make sure we stay on top.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, board members. Go ahead, Commissioner Carter.
Actually, wait, hold on.
Those are impressive metrics. I would argue that all of those metrics are process metrics. What do you have metrics that are about the outcomes for those that you serve? I'm all in with a $1.30 to $1.55 of value. I'm all there. But at the end of the day, I want to see measurements on how this has moved the needle for the people that are served.
That's a very good. That's a very good question. So in Agape's efforts, and I say Agape, but again, we're a collaboration of that 50-plus partners, so they too have their measurements and metrics. Our model is a model that is cradle to career and beyond. So we're working with families from the standpoint of childhood development. We measure that. We have the data that shows that as a result of what we're doing, parents and children are engaged in more conversational turns, and more, the children are ready as it regards kindergarten readiness. So we're working with a number for kindergarten readiness. As it regards children in school, we have measures that speak to attendance, behavior, and parental engagement, keeping the kids in the seats, ready and able to learn. We have a 98% rate of children having positive attendance, acceptable levels of attendance. These were children that were referred in previous years because they were chronically absent. We measure from what we call our TeamWorks effort, jobs, wages, retention, advancement, entrepreneurship. In our counseling, I'm trying to think about all the different areas. In our counseling areas, that one is a little more difficult to measure because a lot of that oftentimes is long-term. So there's smaller steps about how a person moves forward with all of the matters of hope, which our church families help us involved in that as well. Hope, resilience, those are measures. We do a pre and post assessments and then assessments annually to see that progression. What area did I miss?
And I would also just want to add to that is that it's a continuum. And so, for instance, we have these community meetings with with residents to talk about what's needed. Part of what we're doing is really trying to change the culture. So as Julie mentions, when we talk about school attendance as an example, if you're not sitting in the seat, you're not likely to be learning anything. So we want to build, or we are building, a culture also around upskilling, about the future, so that people can see that it's not just for the right now, but here's how we work towards building a better future. Here's how we prepare ourselves by this continuous upskilling. So we're building a culture of constantly thinking or talking with the people we serve about upskilling. The churches, the faith-based organizations are so critical and important to this because they're the ones who are always there. They give us that comfort of knowing, the residents of knowing they're always there. So it's just invaluable to have the faith-based with us.
Yeah, and in addition to the data that we have real life stories. For example, we had a 50-year-old lady who, when she came through our process, she was being evicted from her apartment, car was being repossessed, and fired from her $12 an hour job. She came and submitted to the process of all of our wraparound services. She ended up got Dan Henley in the back getting a job. As he saw her work ethics as a volunteer at the church, she got a $35,000 job. And now she's at a $56,000 job with a debt-free car. Daughter just graduated college and has the best insurance, best job that she's ever had in her life. She submitted through the process. So we have several stories to go along with the data
And
that we
that's
have.
right now. That's not reaching way back. That's right now.
Yeah.
So ultimately for us, it's about how do you fight poverty? How do you move the needle of poverty? Our goal was a needle of moving the needle of poverty by 1% each year over a 10-year period of time.
And I just put this point out, not to dominate here, but it is important to us, and what we will be evaluating all of our implementation grants on is growing capacity to reduce dependency. Process measures are important, but at the end of the day, these kinds of things that you've talked about here are what is ultimately important to our objective.
And I do appreciate you asking that question. And I know that in our 60-something page or more proposal, all of that is in there. But I really want you to look at, because this one is important when we talk about fighting poverty. If you look, you will see that instead of us making a progress towards fighting poverty over a 1-year period of time of 1% each year, we're now, this past quarter, it was 11.6%. That means people who were under the poverty level the previous quarter are now above the poverty level. And so all of those ways, this is only a measure from slingshot standpoint. But as it regards the performance measures, inputs, outputs, outcomes, and ultimate goals, we have that for every program area that we have.
Very quickly, I'm familiar with Agape's program too, Jen. So with the money, will you be expanding that, or will you be deepening that? You still be in communities? Will you be in different communities? That's the question. But before I get to that answer, thank you for being here. Thank you for your heart in doing this. And as you can tell from the lighting, you'll be expected to do karaoke after this.
You ain't saying nothing but a thing.
Yes, ma'am. Nothing but a thing. I have complete confidence in you.
I forgot your question.
We are going to be able to go deeper. In fact, that's exactly what we want to do. We want to go deeper. And over 50% of the funding goes directly to the participant, so that when, again, we talk about no wrong door, no excuses here. When there is a no, we change it to a yes under this model, and we're better able to do that having funding. So one of the key things that you'll find is different with our pilot here is that what we don't have right now is the ability to reimburse employers for giving someone who is ready to go to work, has the beginning skill sets, but they don't have necessarily the experience. Through this model, we're able to incentivize the employer and take the burden off the employer of taking the time to not trained, because they will come with credentials, but that first opportunity that so many of us need, whether you are credentialed, whether you are coming fresh out of college, but you need that first opportunity to say, let me show you that I can do this. In this model, we take the guesswork, we take the high risk out of it for employers. That employer connection is so important because ultimately, it's the money that these families are going to be able to earn that set the stage for so many other things in life.
And another yes to your question, the expansion does include expanding into additional communities in Memphis. We also have private funding, up to currently $17 million committed and attached to this when we receive the award. Yes, yes. So we have government agencies that have committed. Both mayors have committed. So yes, there is expansion and there is a going deeper for the families that we serve.
And the reason their level of commitment to us is they've seen what we've done in the community in the past.
Thank you, and so much. And Commissioner McCord kind of led into my question, too. I was going to ask about this graph right here, the dollars, how you plan to get the dollars out. I think I heard that there's a potential. You listed the three needs of the community: employment, transportation, personal safety. Those are the three mentions that you made. How are you planning to invest the dollars? I think you just mentioned working with employers to create some type of grant. I think you also mentioned that there may be some direct support to individuals on the program, which could be above and beyond what the state is already investing. Tell me about the transportation piece as well and the personal safety, those last two pieces there, ma'am.
That's a good question. I don't know if you're familiar with Memphis, but our Transportation Authority, MATA. MATA is a part of this collaborative as well. And MATA has committed for any of the families, for any of that 200 families that we then connect with an employer in the work-based learning of competitive edge. When they are in need, to do a curb-to-curb pickup and bringing them to the employer, and a curb-to-curb bringing them back home. That funding is not on there because as a collaborative partner, MATA has agreed to do that.
And we built relationships with Federal Express in the past where they were actually having drop-off spots in the community of Raleigh and Frazier to pick people up to take them to the hub. We've already developed that relationship with Federal Express.
When I get to read the full proposal, I'm sure some of this will be answered, but I just want to make sure I understand. Employment, transportation, and safety. Your theory of change, if I understand it, is if you tackle those three things, then people are going to be able to escape from poverty. Is that correct?
Those are majors, but those are not the only ones.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you made the statement, I believe, and I loved hearing it, that most of the money goes to the participant. Is that through direct grants to the participants, or is that by incentivizing employers to pay them a higher wage?
Oh, that's excellent. It's twofold.
Okay.
Oftentimes, families are challenged with many reasons why they don't go to school in order to receive even free trainings and certifications. So this model is to address what is it about those life matters that keep you from going. I got to get a job. I'm going to work at a job that's minimum wage because I got to get a job. So what we do is we're providing them with that funding so that they can go to school. These are short-term certifications and licensing. We'll provide them that funding, medical, IT, first responders,
Additional
logistics.
stipends.
There's 4 or 5 different targeted jobs that we're focusing on.
But will you give a check, a monthly check or a biweekly check to the recipients directly, and they spend it on whatever they want to spend it on?
Right. In the education piece of it, that's to help them with their rent, their utilities or whatever, because other than that, I can't go to school.
Right.
The other piece to that is once they have completed, because we've already got this hot handoff with an employer, this employer hires them. In the first quarter, that first 12 months of employment, the employer is reimbursed at 100%. of their salaries, and then 75% of the salaries, and then 50% of the salaries, then 25% of the salaries. So what happens? You get loyalty, you get the respect of the employee to the employer that they invested in me. You get the employer's buy-in to continue with these kinds of models. And let me say, I've seen these models work before. So there are all types of positives, and ultimately what we're doing, when we go back to that fighting poverty, that's one of the ways you do it. Now, in addition to that, there are other issues for families. And so this model,
Okay.
this model leverages our other fundings to be able to provide those wraparound types of services. But I hope I answered your question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, good.
I-
We want to make sure
I
that
just-
it's clear that there is a conditional stipend such that when people are in school, when they're studying, they have money still coming in. So like it is a familiar model for many of us who say, I'd love to go to school, but who's got time for that because I have to get out here and get this job done. So they will have money to do exactly the kinds of things that keep the house running.
Great, thank you. I love your heart.
Yes.
2 seconds. I'm going to ask it from Commissioner McCord. Do you guys work with WIN?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, right now, we have 4 different what's the word I want to say? Responses that have come for this proposal. So in every one of the proposals, we were asked to be a part of it. WIN is also a part of it, whether or not named or not, because we recognize that that Tennessee Department of Labor is a key piece of this. I came from Florida Department of Labor. I understand the employment side of things. And so, yes, they're a part of this. They're just not named in this one because, as we understand, they're a part of another.
Are they helping cover some of the costs back to the employers?
No, they're not. The workforce reimbursement piece, they're not covering that. But we plan to leverage the ITAs that are current with WIN for that to be a reduction on the supports to the families.
Or any in kind? Yeah.
And the incumbent training, yes. We want to leverage everything. OJT, we want to leverage it all ultimately for the families. I know you put the sign up. You put the yellow sign up, but I want to say this. We believe in what we're doing. We believe that this will make a difference. No, we know this will make a difference. The families in Memphis need this kind of model to help them move forward because they don't have the social capital to be able to do this. When you ask, how do you address poverty? Folks, this is how you do it. Red.